Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the Weekend Show. With over 100 days in office, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has just been affirmed by the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal as the winner of the 2023 elections. Yet some of the other parties have decided they will be taking it to the Supreme Court. But that has been the ruling so far. How has his performance been in the last 100 days? And also, what do other Nigerians think about the ruling by the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal? We'll be having that conversation, and joining us
We have Honorable Idris Cargo, who is the National Team Lead at Tiku Youth Wing. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Also joining us, Akinola Oladimeji, who is a lawyer. Good morning
Good
and
morning.
welcome to the show. And finally, we have Dayo Israel, National Youth Leader for the APC. Good morning.
Thank you
Thanks for joining us.
Daya, I'll start with you, and congratulations on your position as the National Youth Leader. And personally, I see the government is making strides appointing young people into positions, which I find commendable. However, some Nigerians have stated that the poor are not breathing. How would you assess your president's first 100 days in power?
I would say that the president's first 100 days in office have been filled with making institutional changes, long-term impacting decisions that will put Nigeria on the trajectory of greatness. And I'll give an example. I'm a builder, and I understand the process of constructing a building like this. When you want to do a building, in particular in areas you are building on a rock, on a mountain, you first want to excavate. You do your blinding, then you put the iron work, then you board the iron process, then you do your casting. After you finish your casting, you fill your foundation. After you fill your foundation, you do your German floor, which is the DPC. And at that stage, nobody outside sees what you're doing. You know, most of the construction site will have a aluminum pan surrounding, so nobody sees anything, but just doing your DPC, just doing your piling can cost you millions that will build 10 estates. But because of the peculiarity of the foundation that you're building on, you have spent so much, you've invested so much, and people have not seen the impact. Until when you start setting the block one by one, and what the Yorubas will call Tobabes in your yara, and begin to divide the rooms and bring out the toilet, the kitchen, then people begin to see something, and then your block begin to rise up to the lintel level above whatever you surround your environment with. And then after that, you then lay the blocks above the lintel, and then you do your decking. People begin to see what you have spent money on. But you may have spent more money doing what is in the ground than what is above the ground. And that's what is going on now. Asiwaju is laying a new solid foundation for Nigeria. He's investing in the foundation, the basic, because even the scripture says, if the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? If we don't get the basic right, you can't build anything that is sustainable on it. We are built on lies. We are built on corruption. We are built on, people taking advantage of our economy. In particular, with the fuel subsidy, people have continued year in, year out. The country has lost so much in having these people, a few handful of people, milking the nation dry. A corrupt system built, in particular during the military years, has put Nigeria in great danger. So when you want to change those systems overnight, 60 years of building on a wrong foundation, my brother, nobody can come forward and say that it's going to be easy. At the same time, we must recognize that a lot of these things had impact on Nigeria, but the administration have continued to assure that this impact are only going to be short-term by the grace of the Almighty, and that things are going to be booming up very, very soon. And so I want to join all Nigerians and my brothers from the opposition, both Labour Party, PDP, and MPP, whatever it is that you identify with, to come together and support the administration to be able to put Nigeria on the trajectory of greatness.
Let's talk about the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. What's your position on the ruling by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal?
I think that the administration has just been affirmed strongly by the judiciary that the over 8 million of us that voted, our vote has counted. With respect to all the other candidates who also earned one vote or the other, but that's the beauty of democracy. The highest number of votes wins. And so the judiciary has only affirmed the success of of the administration in the election, and also giving us the moral confidence to continue to take the bull by the horn and set Nigeria on the path of constitutional order and greatness.
Akinola, as a lawyer, I would like to hear your overall thoughts on the verdict given on Wednesday.
Thank you, and good morning once again. And it's my privilege to be here. First, let me say that as a young lawyer and of political suffrage, I have the right to vote in an election. But as a lawyer, I also have a duty, as a sentiment, to give the society what the law says. And it is my view that the decision of the tribunal was according to the law, according to the provisions of the Electoral Act, and according to the current electoral jurisprudence in Nigeria. I will give them kudos for taking the time to read through the judgment and read through the provisions of the law. Vis-a-vis the fact of the case, they did a good job. Though the political parties who were dissatisfied with the decision have exercised their right of appeal, the matter probably will proceed to the Supreme Court, and we'll see what the apex court will say on it.
Okay, Honorable Idris, I saw your reactions on that. I would also like to know your thoughts on the verdict, and also on the verdict, the judgment, basically. You know, going through the documents and everything, I saw that there are some things lacking, or said that there are things lacking in the case for the PDP. Could you share more on that, or your thoughts on it in general?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to start by saying rest in peace to democracy, because judiciary have killed it and buried it, hot rice and stew with pepper chicken, well shared. In a country like Nigeria, where so much hope was given to the judiciary, expecting them to do justice, unfortunately, there's no justice in this judgment. And if you look at it, what the PDP presidential candidate was putting, Atiku Abubakar, is simple. Like, for example, the 25% in FCT. This is not about Atiku. This is about Nigerians. And this is about our constitution. Atiku Abubakar did not write this constitution. Who wrote this constitution? The constitution says you must get 25% in FCT. All of a sudden it changes. So what exactly are the judiciary caught in now? Are they saying that the judiciary or the judges, they can change or they can do whatever they want to do with the Constitution? The Constitution is supreme to everything, and we must respect the Constitution. But in this judgment, I see total disrespect to our Constitution. Lawyers, judges, we expect to see that, okay, this is the time the whole world is watching. Show justice. It really matters in the future, because now what they actually did is simple. Why do I say rest in peace to democracy? Because it's simple. When next election comes, all you need to do, just do whatever, all the illegalities you need to do. Once if you have your way to the judiciary, that was why you see during even the campaign, the APC, like my brother here saying, you know, there was something that we keep challenging. All the like, we have won the election, you can go to court. It went viral during that time, if you could remember. So are they saying because they know what they are doing? Are they saying now because, okay, they are working in line with the judiciary or what? We are law-abiding citizens, we the PDP members. And just like what our mentor says, Atiku Abubakar is heading to the Supreme Court. And we expect to see, okay, now they're saying that the Supreme Court judges are kind of different, they will do justice. Now we wait and see what they're actually going to do. So that's what we have to do now, because we have to wait and see what are they going to pass the judgment on to. Before then, we can know what to do next.
Okay, let's talk about a critical part of the election, and Daya, I'll come to you. President Tinubu has spoken about strengthening institutions. Now, leave politics aside, we are all young people here. The electoral body, INEC, as much as we wouldn't want to be partisan with this conversation, we saw INEC's preparedness and lack of it during these elections. Do you think that not keeping the judgment aside, do you think that INEC was flawed in the way they conducted this election, which led to a lot of these issues which we had around the elections? And I would like to hear from the three of you. Will you say INEC did a good job, or they left much to be desired, which also leads to the grievances from some parties?
I think a lot of local and international observers or people who have followed the Nigerian election have commended this election as one of the freest and fairest elections in the history of Nigeria. Even the Supreme Court argued that the Labour Party and the PDP could not establish the fact that there were irregularities in 186,000 polling units in Nigeria. So was there pockets of issues in some communities? Yes, perhaps a few. But I do not think that that is enough to disrepute an election that was conducted in over 8,864 wards and over 186,000 polling units across the country. Were there things that could be done better? It's a process. Election and politics is a process. Our democracy is evolving. Our electoral system and institution are getting better by the day. They're introducing new systems. In 2015 election, we didn't even have what you call IREV. We didn't have many of the new systems that have been introduced today. Many of them were piloted just in Osun and Ekiti election. I'm sure the election that we're having in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi in the next few months is going to be more better even than the election that we've had. And the election in Ondo next year is going to be better. And the election in 2027 is even going to be probably more sophisticated than what we have just had. Because it's a process. There's involvement. You all have a phone. You have an iPhone in your hand. Just yesterday, I just downloaded iOS version 16.6 point something. Why? I bought the iPhone now, maybe at iOS version 14 point something. It was a good, we paid a lot, about $1 million at that time, for a brand new iPhone 14 Pro Max. Abi? But then, suddenly, the installer is asking you to download because what? There's an improvement. iPhone 15 has just come out now. It's way better than iPhone 14. I'm sure before the Okogi election in November, there will be another, or some, maybe before 2027 election, there will be at least iPhone, maybe that time will be at iPhone 20. So even if technology continues to improve, system will continue to improve and evolve. And we can, what the president has shown is that he's committed to giving the legal, financial, and every support he can to the various institutions to be able to operate independently without fear or favor.
All right, so for me, I'm going to speak to this issue from a legal perspective. First thing I would say is that political parties don't conduct elections. Political parties only supervise and ensure that party agents and members of their parties go to the polls and vote. By the provisions of Section 153 of the Constitution, the Independent National Electoral Commission has been empowered to conduct election, accredit and also register political parties, conduct elections. And like Mr. Dayo rightly said, election process in Nigeria is evolving. And if you look at it, in 26, we had an Electoral Act. In 2010, we had another Electoral Act. In 2015, we had a new Electoral Act. In 2019, I think it was only in 2019 we didn't have an Electoral Act. But in 2022, we have another electoral. So in each election year, there are new innovations that are introduced into the Electoral Act to make the law be at par with the development in the society. For instance, the issue of smart card reader. As of 2015, the issue of smart card reader was contained in the guidelines and manual of INEC. And the Supreme Court, in the case of Nyeso Peter, Wike, and Peterside, said smart card reader cannot take the place of the voter's card. And the smart card reader is provided for in the manual of INEC. And the manual is a subsidiary legislation, cannot take the place of the Electoral Act, which has provided for voters register. The legislation went back. And in 2022, they came with beavers. And the Electoral Act says that accreditation must be conducted by beavers electronically. And if there is no accreditation by beavers or the beavers is not working, election must be cancelled in that polling unit. That's a development. The issue of IREV, he also mentioned, is a development. But fortunately, IREV is not provided for in the Electoral Act. It's provided for in the manual. And hopefully, like what happened to the smart card reader, we are hoping that by the next election year, the IREV will also be incorporated in the Electoral Act, and it becomes a law that you must use IREV in the compilation and collation of results. So we can say that INEC is bringing up innovative system to ensure that the votes of people are not wasted, to ensure that there is no political apathy.
So with
in
over
the system.
400 billion naira spent on the election and we couldn't get IREF to work and represent results properly, which has now led to this election being quite controversial, you still give INEC a pass mark. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I would say that INEC conducted the election, and even during the petition proceedings, witnesses of the petitioners confirmed that in some of the polling units, the election was free and fair. The only challenge they had was the uploading of this result on the IREF. And this is Nigeria. I was not there in some of those places where the IREF was not working. I wouldn't tell why. I'm not a technologist. I wouldn't tell why it was unable to. It could be glitches. But what I would say is that what the law requires is substantial compliance. And if the witnesses of the petitioners could confirm that election was free and fair in some of those polling units, substantially, what are we talking about? So I would say that as far as this election is concerned, which has also been confirmed by the Court of Appeal, subject to a review by the Supreme Court, there was substantial compliance with the Electoral Act.
Okay. Honorable Idris, would you say it's wise for the Labour Party and the PDP to file an appeal against the PEP judgment? Because is there anything different that could come out of it, saying as the lawyer here with us said that what the judiciary did was excellent in regards to the verdict?
You know, I'm not surprised for him as a lawyer to say it's give it a pass mark. Because, first of all, you need to ask who appoints the INEC chairman? The same APC government. And who appoints all these judges? The same government. So these people need to be independent first before we can even talk about free and fair. Because you don't expect somebody to appoint you. For example, you have a boss here. If you have somebody appoints you, there's no way you can go against your boss.
I would like
But
to say
what-
here,
yeah.
no one tells us what to do or
Okay,
not. We
it's
just
all
work
right.
ethically.
Okay. So now let me get this thing right now. This election is not free nor fair. And INEC lied to us because Dr. Mahmoud says on national TV several times that we're going to bring all these viewers, Arab is going to be there. But unfortunately, nothing. We believed in him. And then we believed the government are going to do justice. But unfortunately, we did not get any justice. And then now, just like he just spent about almost 400 billion. So where's the 400 billion? Did they share it among themselves? Or are they just toying with us, plus the National Assembly? Because we need to get this to right. Enough is enough. The National Assembly spend their time to make sure they pass all these laws, approve this money. So where is the money? What happened? You made promise to us that, okay, this is going to work absolutely perfect. You keep coming on national TV, making us believe that RF is going to be there, Beavers, everything must work. And then out of good citizens, as a party who obey rules and law of order, we're like, okay, we don't fight. Now we're going to have justice. We went into election. Unfortunately, all this things weren't there.
Okay, so because of time, and I understand your grievance, and I do apologize, I want to give each of you 1 minute to give your parting words to Nigerians at this time, because there are a lot of people who don't know what to do, how to react. So I'll just give each of you 1 minute to give your parting words on the state of the nation as it is right now.
Well, we are going through a lot in the country. A lot of hunger, insecurity, lack of good education, bad hospitals. So many things are happening. On a daily basis, you get nothing less than 50 of 100 messages. Help me with 1,500, 5,000 just to buy food. This is way too much. What are the government doing? They are busy celebrating 100 days in office. All what we can see is just talk. At least show us something. They have governors, they have a president, okay, who has been there before for a quite long time. And this is somebody that promises that he's going to hit the ground running from day one. Of course, what hitting ground they mean? Is it the suffering or what? And Nigerians should also know Atiku Abubakar is heading to the Supreme Court, and we expect justice. We believe that Atiku Abubakar is the right candidate and the right person for the job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear you.
All right, I would start with saying that when a losing party comes out of the court, it says the judiciary is biased. When a winning party comes out of the court, it says the court is the best. But it takes the test of a reasonable man who has gone through the decision of the court. You know, luckily for us, yesterday the judgment of the court was released at about 800 pages. And I took time to read through all the pages before coming here this morning. And I can tell you as a lawyer that the judges did their best to interpret the law in accordance with the fact presented before the court. And this issue going around about IREV, I'd read the Electoral Act, I'd read the guidelines of INEC, and I can say that it is not compulsory that election results from the polling unit, the Form EC8A, must be transmitted to the IREV. Particularly, Section 48
You're finishing your 1 minute.
of the manual, I need to say this, says that where in a polling unit, the polling unit officer is unable to transmit the Form EC8 scan copy to the IREV, he said he shall have recourse to Section 93 of the manual. And what does Section 93 of the manual say is that it says if the IREV is not working, you should use the hard copy of the Form EC8A when it is not available. You can get a copy from the police or you get a copy from the polling unit agent of these parties. Throughout the election petition, none of these party agents appeared in court.
Okay, we need to give Dio his final say so we wrap up.
First, I want to say to Nigerians that when a woman is giving birth, the Yoruba has a proverb, the pain is very much. But when the baby comes, you have cause to rejoice. Please bear with us and with our party and with the government. The inconveniences that you encounter today as a result of the changes, institutional changes that are being made to put Nigeria on the path of greatness. I can assure you by the grace of the Almighty that when the baby, the new baby Nigeria, the new Nigeria is birthed by His Excellency the President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you would be grateful for the sacrifices that you have made to ensure that we put Nigeria on the path of greatness, not just for your sake, but for the generation that is yet to be born.
Thank you very much. And
Thank
so
you.
there you have it. What I will say as my own parting word is we've spent so much time focusing on the federal government. You have your state governors, you have your state houses of assembly. You need to hold them accountable. You need to keep the same eyes on the state governments to ensure that they are doing their best to prove their mandate, which they've won, by providing services, security, and economic development in the states. We can't all rely on the federal, which is Abuja. We need to hold our state governments accountable. And also, while I do 100% agree that we should hold people and government accountable, we should be able to speak up for our rights. We should try to do it respectfully without threatening the lives of others or going through illegal ways to place blame on people because certain things aren't going our way. They've all said it. Yes, people are unhappy, but we need to express our grievances in respectful manner. My name is Andy Madaki. You can follow me on social media at Andy Madaki. You can also follow The Weekend Show at Weekend Show NG on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And you can follow Didi
At Didi underscore on Instagram and X.
That's all we can take for today. Do have a blessed weekend and see you next week.